Imagine walking into a multinational tech company's boardroom and finding a heavy atmosphere, as if every glance carried a silent question mark. That's how the story of Dante Navarro began, one of the most feared CEOs in the industry, known for his sharp mind and zero tolerance for incompetence. He strode into the room with quick steps as if ready for battle and threw an envelope onto the table with calculated force, as if that piece of paper were proof of a betrayal. His directors exchanged glances, trying to guess the reason for the attack, but no one dared speak. Dante took a deep breath and said with irony, "Does anyone here speak Tigrinya?" Silence. Blank stares. No affirmative nods. It was as if he had asked whether anyone had ever spoken to an alien. "Well then," he continued, "I'll pay my entire salary this month, $300,000, to whoever can translate this right now. Any volunteers?" Nervous laughter echoed in the room, but no hands went up. Everyone knew that a language spoken by fewer than 10 million people in Eritrea wasn't exactly a staple in an executive's resume. And that's when something happened that Dante's brain wasn't prepared to process. A voice came from the corner, low, firm, yet filled with confidence. "I can translate it." Dante looked up and saw who had spoken. A woman wearing rubber gloves, holding a bucket with the smell of disinfectant. The light blue uniform gave away her role, janitor. The human brain, shaped by years of cognitive biases, instantly builds recognition patterns. Cleaning uniform, low status, no relevant qualifications. What to? We call the appearance heuristic, and at that moment Dante was its victim. He chuckled, not out of cruelty, but from the natural reflex of disbelief most of us have. "You speak Tigrinya?" he asked, with a tone mixing provocation and skepticism. "I speak and write it," she replied without blinking, "and I know this document is important to you." That sentence struck Dante, who decided to test her. He handed over the paper with theatrical flair, certain she wouldn't make it past the first 2 paragraphs. What happened next was a brutal break in expectation. She read silently for less than a minute, her eyes gliding over the lines like someone revisiting a familiar text. Then she looked up and said calmly, "This is an official inheritance notice. A woman named Saron Tesfaye passed away 2 months ago. She was your maternal great-aunt. She left you a plot of land and a considerable bank deposit in Asmara. The document states you are the sole surviving heir, and the deadline to confirm is today at 5 p.m. If not, the estate will be redistributed under local law." It was 3:12 p.m. Absolute silence. Every brain in that room was processing the same question. How did she know all this? Dante, who minutes earlier had seen that employee as invisible, now felt an adrenaline rush, that sense of urgency that activates the prefrontal cortex. He immediately called the consulate. He confirmed every word. It was all correct. Neuroscience shows that moments of cognitive dissonance, when reality collides with our prior beliefs, create strong memory anchors, and that's exactly what happened to him. When he hung up, he looked at the janitor with a different expression, no longer disdain, but respect. "I need you to translate the rest and help me send the response now." She agreed, but not before saying, "For the amount you promised, the 300,000. Dante froze. He tried to argue it was just a provocation, but she replied, "I took it seriously, and I just saved you a fortune you didn't even know you had." The logic was undeniable. He signed the check. The next morning, Dante was restless. His anterior cortex couldn't switch off the curiosity. Who was this woman? Why would someone with that level of skill be scrubbing floors? He went to the supply room and found her organizing cleaning products as if following a scientific method. "I want to make you an offer," he said. She looked up but didn't stop working. He offered her a contract as a freelance interpreter, paid per project. She accepted, but with one condition: no treating me as the company mascot. I want respect, not pats on the back. Days later, she was in an international meeting, correcting subtle mistakes made by two veteran translators. Dante, watching, felt something rare: pride in having been proven wrong. He gradually discovered she spoke 6 languages, had a master's degree in linguistics, and had previously worked in diplomatic negotiations abroad. Then came the detail that changed everything. She had a 7-year-old autistic son and needed a job with guaranteed on-time pay to fund his therapies. Dante's brain, trained to think in terms of efficiency and results, began to see not just a brilliant professional, but a determined mother whose sense of priority went far beyond personal ambition. Over time, he tried to get closer, using small interactions to understand her story, but she put up emotional barriers whenever he got too close. In neuroscience, this behavior is called a conditioned defensive response, the result of trauma and repeated rejection. Yet in rare moments, she would let slip sharp humor and wit, enough to show she wasn't made only of walls, but also of bridges she chose when and for whom to lower. The big turning point came when he invited her to a professional thank you dinner. She accepted, setting clear rules. It wasn't a personal date, she wouldn't dress to impress, and she'd leave the moment she felt uncomfortable. At the restaurant, a customer made a comment suggesting she was there as an escort. Dante's brain switched into group threat mode, an evolutionary mechanism that drives us to defend those we consider part of our tribe. He reacted instantly, making it clear she was one of the most competent professionals he had ever worked with. For Dante, that moment was more than a public defense. It was confirmation that his worldview had changed. For the first time, he understood it wasn't just about wasted talent, but about an entire system that makes skills invisible because of clothes, titles, and labels. And as a neuroscientist, I can say this: when the mind is forced to revise a deeply rooted prejudice, the impact is as lasting as a mark etched into long-term memory. Dante still didn't know everything about her, but he was certain of one thing: the woman who cleaned the floors had just cleaned the distorted filters through which he saw the world. Maybe right now you're in one of the most challenging moments of your life, where everything seems uncertain, where your plans have been shattered, where the people you counted on are no longer by your side. And I know that in times like these, the heart becomes heavy, thoughts get clouded, and you feel as if God has forgotten about you. But let me tell you something powerful today. You are closer than you think to living the answer you have been waiting for so long. Life has a way of shaking us when we least expect it, and sometimes God allows certain situations to strip us of what we thought we needed, so He can take us to where we truly belong. Every delay, every closed door, every no you've heard was not a sign of abandonment, but a divine redirection. And I know, when we are in the valley, all we can see are the shadows, but God sees the top of the mountain. He knows exactly what's ahead. There are seasons when it feels like everything is standing still, but in reality, heaven is moving in your favor. Sometimes, before the promise comes, God works in silence, shaping your character, strengthening your faith, and preparing the path ahead. The enemy wants you to believe that nothing will change, that you will be stuck in this situation forever. But the truth is, the closer you are to your breakthrough, the greater the opposition you will face. And that's not because you are defeated, it's because you're almost there. Think about Joseph. Before he became governor of Egypt, he was betrayed, sold, unjustly imprisoned and forgotten. Yet each of these moments was part of the journey that led him to his destiny. If Joseph had given up in the dungeon, he would never have seen the palace. Your story might feel like it's stuck in the chapters of pain and injustice, but God has already written your ending, and it's much greater than your imagination can grasp. You have prayed, cried, and waited. Sometimes you even thought about giving up. But today, I came to remind you, don't stop now. Your faith has brought you this far, and what's coming will make sense of every tear you have shed. God is aligning pieces you can't see, opening doors you don't even know exist yet. And when it happens, you will look back and realize that every delay was part of a perfect plan. You're not too late. You're not behind. You are exactly where you need to be for God's purpose to be fulfilled. The desert you are walking through now will soon become the testimony that will inspire others. Just like the seed buried in the dark before it sprouts, you may feel hidden, but you are growing roots that will sustain everything God is about to do in your life. So hold on. This is not the end. It's just the preparation for a new beginning. Heaven is about to shift things in your favor. The season of waiting is turning into the season of fulfillment. And when it happens, everyone who doubted will see that the hand of God has always been over you. You are closer than you think. Don't give up now. I know that you may be in a season where you have prayed, fasted, waited, and yet nothing seems to have happened. You have cried in silence, looked at the ceiling at night, and asked God, why hasn't it happened yet? You have questioned whether you are in the right place, whether you are still in His will, or whether you have done something wrong too. Delay the promise. And I know that waiting hurts. I know it burns inside when you see others moving forward while you remain in the same place, holding on to a word that has not yet come to pass. But I came to tell you that God's silence is not His absence, and His apparent delay is not a sign that He has forgotten you. Heaven is still moving on your behalf. Sometimes God needs to prepare not only the promise, but also the person who will receive it. Sometimes He works in secret, far from your eyes, shaping, pruning, breaking, and rebuilding you so that when the answer comes, you will be able to handle it. You are not in a moment of abandonment. You are in a process of formation. The desert is not the end. It is the path that shapes the warrior in you. It is in the waiting that God teaches you dependence, trust, and faith that is not moved by what you see, but by what you know in your spirit. There are promises that require a change in your structure before they can manifest. There are doors that God will only open when your heart is free from what could destroy you once you are inside. Do not measure God's faithfulness by the speed of His answers. His timing is perfect because He sees what you cannot see and knows what you cannot know. What if the delay is actually protection? What if the no you heard was actually God saving you from something that would harm you? What if the silence is God working behind the scenes, aligning people, places, and circumstances so that everything will be exactly as it should be? You are not late. You are right on time for what heaven has planned for you. Do not despise the process. The process is the proof that the promise is real. Every tear you shed is watering the seed of your miracle. Every prayer you make is echoing in eternity. Every time you choose to trust, you are telling God, I believe in you more than in what I see. And that moves heaven. Your faith in the waiting is worth more than your joy in receiving, because anyone can worship when the answer arrives, but only those who truly know God can worship when nothing has yet happened. The real victory is not in receiving, it is in remaining faithful, remaining in His word, remaining in His presence, even when everything says you should give up. You are closer than you think. The enemy would not be fighting so hard if you were not on the verge of a great breakthrough. The darkness intensifies right before the dawn. So lift your head, straighten your shoulders, and continue walking. Your promise has an appointed time, and it will not fail. And when it happens, you will understand that every second of waiting was worth it. You will look back and see that God's silence was filled with His care, that His delay was actually the exact pace of His perfect plan. You will see that He never stopped working, even when you couldn't perceive it. So hold on. Do not let despair steal your faith. Do not let impatience make you abandon the process. God is not done with you. The best chapter of your story is about to be written, and it will be so great that it will erase the pain of the wait. Stay firm, heaven is moving, and your miracle is on the way. Throughout the week, Rosie proved herself again and again. She closed deals that had been stalled for months, solved complex international disputes, and impressed every client she met. On Friday, Logan knocked on her door. "Come in," she said, not looking up from her papers. "How was your first week?" "Good. Challenging, but good. I have another proposal, Logan. Professional, strictly professional." "What is it?" "The International Trade Conference is in 2 weeks in Paris. It's the biggest event in the field. I want you to come with me as our lead interpreter." Rosie finally looked up. Paris, 3 days, 5-star hotel, all the major players would be there. It was a great chance to position Griffin as a leader in the global market. And what exactly would I be doing? Translating, interpreting, helping with negotiations. You'd be my official business partner at the event. Business partner? Exactly. Nothing more, nothing less. Rosie smiled. "When do we leave?" "Seriously, you're in. It's work, isn't it? And you said it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." "It really is." "Then I'm in." "But Logan, yes. If you try to kiss me in Paris, I'll throw you off the Eiffel Tower." Logan laughed. "Noted." Paris arrived with all its elegance. The George F. Hotel was luxurious, with a spectacular view of the Eiffel Tower. Rosie stayed on the 10th floor, while Logan insisted on 2 floors above, for professionalism. On the first morning, they met in the lobby at 7 a.m. Rosie, flawless in her grey suit and carrying a leather briefcase, turned heads. "New briefcase?" Logan asked, trying not to stare. "Noah gave it to me," she said. "He said a director needed a director's briefcase." The conference buzzed with energy. Business people from around the world formed partnerships, closed deals, and exchanged ideas. Rosie switched effortlessly between Japanese, Mandarin, and French, negotiating contracts, translating simultaneously, and resolving issues. With skill that left everyone in awe, Logan watched, amazed at her talent and professionalism. Between meetings, they explored Paris. They visited a bookstore, sipped coffee, and shared quiet moments. Logan asked about forgiveness, and Rosie shared how she had forgiven him for the past, and how she was still learning to forgive the unthinkable acts of others. Their bond grew, built on respect, integrity, and shared experience. At the gala, Rosie and Logan danced professionally, their chemistry undeniable. Memories of their first meetings, challenges, and growth surfaced in their conversation. Logan confessed how Rosie had changed his life, made him a better man and leader. Rosie acknowledged how Logan had helped her see her own strength and potential. Together, they realized they had grown through partnership, trust, and love. Logan addressed the conference audience, praising courage, integrity, and the transformative power of one person's example. He spoke of Rosie's influence, her intelligence, compassion, and dedication to Noah. Then, in front of 300 people, Logan knelt and proposed. Rosie laughed, cried, and teased, keeping her professional composure before finally responding. The answer was yes. 6 months later, Chicago witnessed their wedding atop Griffin Imports' rooftop. Rosie wore a simple, elegant gown. Noah, proud as ring-bearer, walked with determination. Guests included friends, clients, and mentors who had played key roles in their journey. Logan and Rosie exchanged vows, celebrating love, partnership, respect, and shared dreams. They pledged to support each other in life, business, and meaningful social projects like mentoring women in vulnerable situations. Standing high above the city, they reflected on the journey that brought them here, from humble beginnings, challenges, and perseverance to triumph, love, and fulfillment. Their story became a testament. With courage, integrity, and faith, Happy endings exist for those brave enough to fight for them. What did you think of Rosie and Logan's story? Share your thoughts in the comments. Rate this story from 0 to 10. Subscribe to the channel, click the bell to follow all our stories, and discover more touching stories by clicking here at the end.